Hello there, and welcome to the Time Machine with Trish and Mike. I'm Mike.
And I'm Trish.
And we're glad you're with us on this very special Canada Day, Independence Day special edition of the Time Machine. How are you?
Extravaganza.
Yes, we should add more adjectives to the title of this episode. Happy Canada Day, Trish. I know it's Canada Day for you today.
Yeah. It is. Thank you very much, Mike, and happy early Independence Day.
Thank you. I'm sure that our friends listening in England probably aren't too thrilled about this week's episode, but hey, we won.
What happens, man.
Yeah, we won that one, so we're gonna kind of be proud of it. Anyway, so we thought we would do something a little bit different for this week's episode. We're not going to have the traditional time machine aspect where we go back and look at historical events, but rather we would kind of look at some of the differences, whether they be historical differences or just general day-to-day life differences between our two countries. And so that is what we're going to do today.
Yep. Sounds like a good plan to me.
So a couple of interesting facts though about Canada and the US. Which is bigger? Do you know this, Trish?
Which is bigger? Like landmass?
Landmass, yep.
Oh, Canada is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Canada, and this will probably blow some Americans' minds listening to it, but Canada is, but it's not by as much as you would think. It's 1.6% larger than the United States. So Canada comprises of about 3.85 million square miles, and America is 3.79 square miles. So it's, relatively speaking, they're very similar in size. But
is that including your territories?
To be honest with you, I don't know. But most of our territories are so small that it wouldn't make that much of a difference, right. I don't think, even if that was just comparing the 50 states, or right. that might even be the 48 states, to be honest. I really don't know. Yeah. But the big difference comes in population size.
Yes. Yeah. And this goes back actually to basically the history of the founding of our country, right? Your country was founded on people seeking like a whole new community and religious freedoms, whereas Canada was like, well, we don't really want to live there, but we'll take those beaver furs and head on back to Europe.
Right. And so we have about 307 million Americans compared to about 33.4 million Canadians. So
yeah. And most of us live right on your border. We're like knocking on your back door.
Pretty much, which is why if you just looked at the population and then you get into the land mass, you go, wait, how is Canada that big? And then when you actually look at it and you zoom out on the map and you see all that stuff to the north and go, oh, that's still part of Canada.
Yeah. We actually have the longest, I don't know if it's like dispute or if it's technically classified as a war between ourselves and I believe it's Denmark. Now I'm like drawing a blank on the Scandinavian country, but way, way, way up north, Canada's always tried to assert its northern sovereignty. And there's an island that Denmark claims is theirs and Canada claims is ours. And every couple of months, either side goes and switches the flag of the other nation and leaves a alcoholic drink.
So it's like a international battle of capture the flag or something, basically.
Exactly.
Well, at least it's kind of done somewhat tongue in cheek, and everybody kind of has a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah,
so, that's good. That's good. All right. Well, we'll just jump right in. So since you're a teacher, I figured we'd start with kind of schools. That might be a good place to start. So, schools in Canada, like what age do kids start going to school? Like here, we have like typically a 4-year-old might go to a preschool type, a pre-K, a kindergarten. Do you have kindergarten there? Is that a thing?
Yeah. So there's kindergartens in most provinces. I grew up in Nova Scotia where for whatever reason we called it grade primary.
Okay. So here, and when I say here, I mean Florida, but I mean generally, I think most of the U.S., there are going to be some geographical differences in terminology, which I'll get to in a second. but typically speaking, a 5-year-old is going to go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, it goes like elementary school is kindergarten through 5th grade, or as
Right.
you like to call them, grade fives.
Yes.
And then 6th through 8th grade is commonly known as middle school, or
Okay.
sometimes junior high school, depending on what part of the country you might be in. There are some high schools, most high schools would be 9th through 12th grade.
Okay.
There are some high schools that have like separate 9th grade centers. So, like, when you go into 9th grade, you're kind of more in your own bubble as opposed to being in the high school. And there's some wiggle room on the whole middle school, junior high thing, because there are some parts of the country where elementary school goes to 6th grade and junior high or high school is like 7th to 9th grade. So it can kind of depend a little bit.
Yeah, that's it's similar to here. And we're much like you guys, whereas like each state is in charge of their education, right?
Each state does, and then there's also another breakdown at the county level
Oh,
to
interesting.
oversee schools. Yeah.
Okay. See, we have each province is in charge of the education. Typically, you can put your kid into preschool, which is there's like a 3-year-old group and a 4-year-old group. And then typically you go into kindergarten in grade 5. Grade 5's not a requirement in our system, though. So some kids do just show up in grade 1 after having never been in kindergarten. And then elementary typically is K to 6, middle school 7 to 9, and then high school's 11 to 12. But I had a situation in my high school in Nova Scotia where...
You mean 10 to 12?
What did I say?
You said junior high was 7th to 9th, then high school was 11th and 12th.
Oh, no, 10 to 12. Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't teach math. I'm just joking. I had a brain.
If you've ever
muddle.
listened to one of our episodes, you know Trish is not the math major.
No. But I had a situation like where what you mentioned with the grade 9s being kind of bubbled. So there wasn't enough room at my junior high for the grade 9s. So we ended up going into the high school. But the high school was all semestered except for grade 9. So they were kind of kept by themselves. And then we went into a semestered system in grade 10. And then in our area, at least here in Alberta, you can go to Catholic school if you meet certain requirements, or public school. And both are funded by the government. But then we also have charter, homeschool, and private school.
And that's kind of the same here. We have public schools, which are ran at the county level. And then you do have private schools, which could be, Christian schools or Catholic schools or what have you. That
people get really upset here that Catholic schools are basically publicly funded. They're like, why are we paying for that? But there's a situation called collective rights within certain provinces that extend that right to individuals.
Gotcha. So the issue we have here, so we do have private schools, which are separate and private. They're self-funded. We do have charter schools, which there's some wiggle room on that. Some of them do receive some public funding, and there's, at least here in Florida, been a lot of debate about parents being able to basically get a credit, for lack of a better word, that they can use, because as a taxpayer, you're paying into the school system, and you basically can get what you spend in taxes towards schools and get a credit to apply that for your kid to go to a charter school. It's kind of, because that's when you get into, well, then is state money going to a religious school or something? So there's some wiggle room on that. And homeschooling is a thing here as well. You can be homeschooled.
And ours is every student receives a certain amount of funding from the government, but that funding can only be used for certain aspects of education. Like it can't go maybe towards building maintenance. It has to go towards teacher salaries or whatever.
Or textbooks or computers or something. Yeah.
Like I work at a private school. And so every kid comes with that certain amount of money, and you have to be registered at your school by the end of September. And then the government sends that money to whatever school you're registered at. And then the parents pay a tuition on top of that government funding.
Gotcha. Okay. So we're similar but different. I think that's kind of be a common thread as we go through some of these things, where there are some similarities but some slight differences. So, like, what's the driving age up there?
So everywhere else it is 16. In Alberta, it's 14. You can get your learners, but you have to have it for 2 years. And then at 16, you can actually go for your appropriate test in beginners.
Okay. All right. So typically, like in Florida, you can get your learners at 15 and your regular license at 16. Now, you do have some restrictions on that until you turn 18. Like there's certain hours late at night that you can't drive. And like even with a learner's permit, there's only certain hours you can drive. Like I think, and it's been so long for me, but I think like with a learner's license, you can drive. You have to have somebody in the car with you, obviously. I think you can drive up to like 10 at night, and then when you get a regular license, you can drive up until midnight or something. And then like when you're 17, you can drive until 1, and then when you're 18, you can drive whenever you want. There are a handful of states that you can get a learner's license at 14.
It typically tends to be like farming states or farming areas because the kids are using the farm equipment.
Yeah, and that kind of backs up actually the states that allow a 14-year-old to get a learner's license. Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, North Dakota, and Alaska. You can get learner's licenses at 14.
See, we call ours, so it's a graduated license once you get past your learners or the beginners, the first one. And then we used to nickname it the Cinderella license because you weren't allowed to drive after midnight, I think until about 6 in the morning. And then you can't have any alcohol in your system or you get big trouble.
Well, what's the drinking age?
So the drinking age in Canada is 18 in Alberta and Quebec and 19 everywhere else.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. It's 21 here. So
I know.
I was like, wait a second. When you said that, I'm like, wait a minute. You shouldn't be drinking anyway.
No. And we used to do, like when I lived in Ottawa for the summer, right? When I mentioned we would go sneak over to Gatineau Hall and have an alcoholic beverage there because it was a year younger.
Yeah.
And when I turned 18 and came out to Alberta for my brother's wedding, it was like, all right, we're taking Trish to the bar. And it was kind of weird to go to the bar with my brother.
That's fun. Yeah. That's neat. Now what about on cars? So like here we can get customized and specialty license plates. Is that a thing up there?
So yeah, we can get like you can get certain sports teams like the now I have to change it because our sports team actually just changed. The Edmonton Eskimos just changed to the Edmonton Elks. And we can get Oilers. So the Edmonton Oilers, you can get a special license plate, or you can get, if you're a veteran, you can get veteran plates. You can get vanity plates where you have like a the name on the back.
Right.
But they have to be appropriate names or the government will like kick it to the curb and you can't use it.
Yeah, that's the same here. Although I'm guessing much like our cereal aisles, we probably have a few more options than you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you do.
So I actually went on to the state of Florida and I counted them up.
Oh my gosh. How many? I'm nervous.
Okay. So disclaimer, this is not counting government issued plates, law enforcement plates, or commercial plates. So because there are certain plates that like the sheriff cars may have, or Department of Transportation vehicles, or commercial plates like on semi trailers and that sort of thing. So not counting all of that, there are currently 133 plates available in the state of Florida.
Oh, that's a lot. So I just went and looked on the Alberta government website, and you can get 3. You can get 4. You can get a regular one, you can get a Flames one, you can get an Edmonton Oilers one, or you can get a Support Our Troops one.
Okay, so we have here obviously all the sports teams. So the Magic, the Heat in basketball, the Lightning and Panthers hockey, Bucks, Jaguars, Dolphins football, Rays and Marlins baseball. So right there, that's like 11.
A lot.
All the colleges, so Florida State, UCF, Miami, USF, all those. Then you get into military plates, like Air Force, Navy, etc. There's tons of different specialty causes, like to funding for the arts, or just whatever. There's memorial plates. So we actually do have, I'll send you this. We'll post this on the thing. There's actually a commemorative plate that you can get for recognizing the Columbia and Challenger disasters.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so
here, if you wanted to celebrate anything,
you pay a little extra and the money goes to these schools and causes and stuff.
See, here people just put like a plate cover for anything that they want to support,
like a
or
tag
like
frame.
a decal, or a decal.
Decal. There we go. Decal. Oh.
For like ever after that debate, I was double guessing. I'm like, what do I actually say now? I don't even know. It's so funny.
So
I was going to say something that
ahead.
popped up in a conversation. Speaking of cars,
Mm-hmm.
there is a game that I grew up with called Padiddle. Have you ever heard of a Padiddle?
Padiddle. I can't say that I have, but this might be something where we have something similar. We just call
a different name.
A different name, right?
Okay, so a Padiddle is when you're driving with your friends and you see a car that has one headlight out, and you go Padiddle and you punch the top of the roof.
Okay,
you just win by having the most Padiddles.
Okay, we have something similar. It's called a punch buggy.
Yeah, we have that.
Okay, and that's where when you see like a little Volkswagen Bug Beetle, you punch, somebody in the car. Oh, preferably not the driver. Yeah.
See, with a Padiddle, you can also punch the other person if you want. It's usually the roof, though.
Oh.
So you don't have any game for like a missing headlight.
Not at least that I've ever heard of, or maybe I've just been on road trips with the wrong people, but I'm not aware of that one. Padiddle.
Because it said when I Googled it, like when I was talking to Nick and I brought it up, and he hadn't heard of it either. I was like, well, it does say that it's a Canadian and American slang term. So somewhere in America, someone's using it.
Maybe in like Minnesota or something.
Minnesota, somewhere that's close to us.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Wisconsin. Andy, get back to us.
Yeah, maybe. Okay, so explain your milk situation, because I have heard of the legend of Canadian milk before. This is something that is quite different from what we do here.
So, it's not every province, but I grew up in the East Coast where your milk is in a bag. You get bagged milk.
So you
think of like a giant squirt. Like, do you guys have squirt. Or juice bags? Or bags? Juice boxes, but in a bag.
Yeah, not well. We have like Capri Sun. They come in like little pouches.
Oh, that's like a pouch. No, this is like an actual, like, think of a bean bag. That's just like a plastic square that's just full of juice.
No.
Okay.
No.
So we also have those then, but you would get 3. Yeah, kind of like that.
Kind of like that. Yeah. I'm holding up an air pillow that you use for packing. So basically this, but with juice or
inside,
milk.
and you can stick a straw, and there's a little circle where you stick your straw in, like the Capri pouch.
Capri Suns. Okay. Yeah. Capri Suns we have. But yeah, no.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say our milk does not come in bags like that.
No, you get 3 2-liter bags in a bigger bag.
Okay. So that
3
way
inside of a big one, and you have special containers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have special containers like a Kool-Aid container.
Like a pitcher.
The milk a pitcher. You stick the milk in, and you can buy little magnets that stick on your fridge to like slice the ends off, or you can just use scissors, or I would just use like a knife. I moved here, and it was all in cartons, or jugs.
Gotcha. So it's good that you have like mini bags in the bag, because since it's sealed, it's not as
right.
You only open kind of the bag that you need. That way it lasts longer because the other ones are still unopened. Yeah. That's good.
Takes up a lot of room in your fridge.
Obviously, here in America, we typically get ours in either a like a cardboard carton or a plastic jug.
That's what I'm used to now. But legendary. It was really weird to move, and I'm like, where?
It's interesting that it's different in different provinces, that it varies like that.
So I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
What in the world is going on with like your pharmaceutical ads? Like growing up, we used to get a lot of American television, and you would always get these ads, and it was like, ask your doctor about this medicine. And I'm like, didn't the doctor just tell you what you need? So in Canada, you never go to the doctor and say, oh, I read about such and such a medicine, I want to try it. You go to the doctor and they're just like, I'm going to prescribe this to you.
Gotcha. Okay, so this actually kind of brings up one of the misconceptions, I guess I'll say, about Canada and the US with healthcare, because a lot of people think Canadians have free healthcare, which you don't, because you pay for it with your taxes. Basically. Yep. But you typically, when you go to a doctor, you don't have to pay anything, right?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Other than like you have to pay for if you're asking for like a sick note because you've missed work, that's like $25.
So they charge you to write a note?
Yeah.
Oh, what a poopy head. Do you have to pay for prescriptions?
I sometimes you have to pay. It depends on if you have coverage through work or if you pay for independent insurance.
Okay, so
But like for me, I hardly ever have to pay for anything. Like my coverage through work covers everything.
okay, so that is kind of interesting. So you don't have to pay to go to the doctor, but you potentially would have to pay for medicine.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't know that. That's interesting. So here, obviously we have healthcare. Now we have a government programs for healthcare for those
Right.
that, meet a certain income level or disability requirement. But the general person will have insurance. Usually, that's somewhat, at least partially, sometimes fully paid for by your employer. Although most of the time they're just paying like half of it or something, and then you would get the rest of it deducted out of your check to finish paying for your insurance. You go to a doctor, and this is where your plan can vary. Some of them, after you spend X amount in a year, everything is covered. Some of them you pay every time you go. So like to go to a primary doctor, you might pay $30 or $40 as a copay. A specialist might be more like 60 or 70. Again, it can vary from plan to plan. I'm just kind of throwing out some generic numbers based on different plans I've had over time. And then you go to the pharmacy. Same thing with prescriptions. There are some prescriptions that are totally free that the pharmacy just because they're just so cheap that or generic versions of that it's not worth the billing. It doesn't meet the copay requirement, so they just like here we'll and it hooks you in. It's like, okay, I get something for free. I'll go there to get my more expensive stuff filled too. Now, as far as so the advertising you see, that's from the pharmaceutical companies. So whenever they come out with a new drug, like Viagra was the big one back in the 90s that they came up with. Well, doctors probably not going to ask you about, so how's it going?
How's that ED happening?
Right, exactly. So that would be a situation where Pfizer spends the money to get the Viagra name out there. You go talk to your doctor. Hey, doc, listen, I could use a little help. I got you. Your friend, Mr. Blue, has got you. Here's some little blue pills. Go, But yeah, so pharmaceuticals obviously, advertise because it's in there. And of course, they send reps to these doctors' offices to say, hey, we've got this new drug. We think you should try it, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, just it's so different. We don't do that. But I should say also with our medicine, like if I'm in the hospital for anything, I don't pay for any prescriptions. Like it's all just taken care of.
Gotcha.
So when I went for my thyroid removal, I actually had an inner ear infection and I was actually worried they were going to cancel the surgery. But while I was in the hospital, even though I brought my antibiotics with me, they still gave me new ones in the hospital and didn't charge me. I was like, oh, sweet. And then we pay for dentistry, obviously, if it's not covered by your insurance and eyes. My insurance doesn't cover glasses or getting my eyes checked. But in Alberta, kids under, I think it's 16 or 14 are covered totally.
See, and now that's a difference. So when I was talking about insurance, I was speaking of general health insurance that you have. Dental insurance and eye exams and all that stuff.
Are they separate?
Vision insurance, that's totally separate. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And same thing. Some places provide them. Some, your employer will pick up like half the cost, or in some cases, all of it. Obviously, those plans are a little bit cheaper because they're more limited in scope. But yeah, your general health insurance is not going to cover you going to an eye doctor to get a pair of glasses or something. Or the dentist, right? It's a separate insurance.
And I have a question about your flags. Why do you have so many flags everywhere? Like everywhere. I thought when I watched American movies and saw in Hallmark and they have all the flags or whatever Hallmark movies. And then I went to America and I'm like, oh my God, it's real. Like, these flags are everywhere.
Are you talking about just like you see the American flag everywhere?
Yeah, like the American flag's on like everyone's house and every business and like every mall. And you're like, oh my God, there's so many flags.
It's just an American thing. It's
you guys
been
proud.
We are. We don't want anybody getting confused. We want you to know where you're at. So like all government buildings and stuff, of course, will have them.
Ours too. Yeah.
Military bases, that sort of thing. A lot of businesses just like to fly them. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you, did more start doing it after September 11th? Maybe. But like I always kind of remember seeing them in a lot of places. Like I know, going to use the government buildings, for example. So say you're in like the city, you would see a U.S. flag, and then flying below it, you might see like a City of Orlando flag.
Right.
Or something. Or the state of, or you might see like U.S. flag, state of Florida flag, and then a city flag, or something like that.
Right.
But
the American Canadians aren't proud of our flag. Like we love our flag, but like we don't have nearly as many flags flown on just residential houses than you guys do.
Yeah, it's just a thing we do.
So. Very interesting. It was very fascinating.
Yeah. And
I have a banking question.
Okay. All right.
Why do you guys not have e-transfers?
What are e-transfers?
You use PayPal, but PayPal, you have to have a charge. There's like a charge to use it.
PayPal? There sort of is a charge for PayPal. Yeah, so you guys
have PayPal. I mean, we use PayPal here.
Yeah, we have PayPal here, but there are some that you can do like through PayPal there's no charge for.
It's with no charge.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how you're using it. So there's PayPal and there's other different cash exchange apps. Like there's one here called Zelle that's linked into the bank accounts. That you can basically just transfer money to your friend's account. Like I don't get his account number. He links his cell phone number with his bank, and I link it with mine, and I can send him money or something. Yeah.
It just sounds so much more complicated.
I think we have it. It's just we probably call these things slightly different. So yeah, there are ways to do that. Now pennies. You guys stopped using the penny a while ago. We still use pennies here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm going to see the date when we phase them out because I can't quite remember. So a quick Google is going to tell me. March 29th, 2012, the federal government announced it in its budget that it would withdraw the penny from circulation in the fall of 2012.
So what's the smallest coin that you use now?
We have a nickel, so a 5-cent coin.
Okay. So everything just rounds up to the nearest nickel or rounds down depending on...
if you're paying with plastic, right, or your debit, then it just stays the same. But yeah, it either rounds up or rounds down to the
Gotcha.
5 cents.
But if you're paying in cash, then it rounds. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I wonder how much it costs you guys to make pennies. Like that's why we took it out. It just wasn't. It was costing us too much money.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't know, but it's got to be close to, if not more expensive to make them. But we just have not completely phased them out yet. I'm kind of surprised with COVID that it didn't finish wiping the penny out simply because there was, card transactions or digital payments like Apple Pay or something became priority. Nobody wanted to really do cash anymore.
Right.
So you got to figure it's just a matter of time before pennies are not really a thing anymore here.
Yeah, because it says it costs about 1.76 cents to make in 2020.
Yeah. So if it's costing more to make it,
yeah, it's not really worth it.
Right. But they're still made and we still use them. So
right.
Okay. So this was a new one to me. The alphabet.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
Okay. Now we use the same 26 letters that you use.
Uh-huh.
But there is a letter that there is some debate over.
Ah, you mean Z or Z?
Yes. So we call the last letter Z.
Right. And we say Z.
Z. Where do you get that from?
I don't know. And actually, because I grew up on the East Coast and we had a lot of Americanized Sesame Street, I say Z.
Z? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But other places do say Z, and I'm not entirely sure if it's just, it obviously has to be like a leftover remnant from the Commonwealth, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could figure because I'm like, and maybe because it's just I've grown up seeing that letter and saying Z, but I'm like, why would you even call this Z? But how do we pronounce any of these letters if you really stop and think about it? Like, How do I tell you what a W is? Okay, it kind of looks like a U. Well, how did you name the letter U? Like who came up with how to pronounce letters? Words I get.
See, and I love figuring out like the pronunciation of certain words, or like where do we get the spelling of certain words. That's really fascinating to me. I did do a quick Google because now I'm curious.
Okay.
And it said that the British and others, I'm assuming Commonwealth countries, pronounce ZZ owing to the origin of the letter Z, the Greek letter zeta. So the first known instance of Z being recorded as the correct pronunciation was in Lie's New Spelling Book, published in 1677.
Gotcha.
In America.
I would like to state for the record, remember where she moments ago said that she likes discovering how to pronounce things? We're getting there, because coming up, we will have a round 2 of funky city names. And
funky city names.
Believe me, folks, keep listening to this episode. That's all I got to tell you.
It's going to be so bad. You get the dyslexic person.
Okay. But we're getting there momentarily. I've got a few more here. I think you might have a couple more for me. So measurements. Now, this is an interesting one. Because you guys really do use like a hybrid system. Yeah. Because here in America, we use the imperial system, feet and inches and all that stuff. You clearly use the metric system. Like I know when you're driving, we use miles per hour. You use kilometers per hour. Yeah. But you go to Subway, you get a foot long. Yeah. Right.
Or a 6-inch sub. Yeah.
Or a 6-inch sub. But again, either way, you're using our system. Yeah. If I ask you what's the weather like, you're going to give me the degrees in Celsius.
Yeah, like right now it's 32 degrees here, which is like 84 for you guys, I think.
84 sounds nice. It's been like 92 most of the week here, which is a little toasty. But like, so there you use Celsius. Yeah. But if I said I want you to bake some cookies, you're gonna go put the oven on 350.
350. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're using Fahrenheit. So it's like you have no choice. You have to learn 2 systems, but you don't really, I guess it doesn't really matter so much because you don't cross use them. Like you use Celsius for temperature outside, but it doesn't matter really what the temperature is on the oven when you're making cookies. You just know that it's 350 and you don't have to think, well, convert it. You just
the only thing when we have to convert is like when we go for our driver's license, you have to use meters, like your height in meters, and you have to use kilograms for your weight. Okay. And nobody's like, I don't know how many kilograms I am. I know how much poundage I am. I know how tall I am in terms of feet and inches. So then you have to do a little bit of converting and you're like, I don't know, I'm 5'2". So that's like, I don't know how many meters, and you figure it out.
Gotcha. Okay. It's like what, 2 meters roughly?
Well, there's 12 feet. No, wait.
There's 3 feet in a meter. So,
okay, so this is where it came in handy with COVID. You guys have to be 6 feet apart, which is 1 meter, right?
No, it's 2 meters.
6 feet.
A meter is 3 feet.
Oh, okay.
Believe me,
you already know.
Yes,
it's 1.8, so almost 2 meters.
Okay, so because actually at the theme parks, all right. So because obviously for reasons that I don't quite fully grasp now that I think about it, because we shouldn't have been having international tourists for a long time, but all the signage would say 6 feet / 2 meters.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, but again, in hindsight, it's like, wait a minute, should we have really been doing that?
Right.
Because we shouldn't have had anybody here. But.
Well, we got creative around here because it was like, you should stay, you should stay 2 meters apart, or it was like 62 Timbits was what Tim Hortons put on their floor.
That's nice.
Cute. That is true. Although Canadians can now, we can leave Canada after July 1st. Today, we can leave today.
So
on a plane right now.
I was going to say, as you're listening to this, Trish is on a flight to LA.
Not quite.
But soon. I told you we'd get there soon, and
well, hopefully. There's still, you have to have a contingency plan of if you come back and test positive, then you need to have a contingency plan to be in isolation for 2 weeks. And because of work, like there's a specific time frame that will work for a visit to the United States, and there's a lot of factors.
Gotcha. It's a lot closer than we thought 2-3 months ago.
Closer than we thought 2 or 3 months ago. Yep.
Okay. Well, speaking of getting close, we're getting close to going on our great naming adventure here.
Oh my.
I think I have pretty much all my questions. Did you have any more that you wanted to hit me with?
I think that, I mean, we can talk about portion. Your sizes are huge at fast food restaurants.
Oh, yes.
That's always blown my mind.
Yeah, our portion sizes are bigger here. Although in some aspects they're smaller than they used to be because in
Oh.
the 90s, McDonald's everybody of course knows what supersize is.
Mhm.
Everybody's heard that term. So that actually spawned off from a tie-in that McDonald's did with Jurassic Park back
Oh, that's where
in
it originally came
93.
from?
So they
Interesting.
offered limited time dino sized fries and drinks. So they were, bigger and they proved to be very popular. So after that promotion ended, they just renamed everything supersized. And I forget right now how many ounces of fries or ounces of drink you got.
Hmm.
But it stayed around. And then eventually after the movie came out, 15 years ago or something, Super Size Me, they eventually got rid of supersizes. I mean, they still have small, medium, and large, but you don't
Yeah, but they don't ask
quite
you
have,
anymore.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like they'll ask you what size you want your meal, but they don't like say, "Hey, do you want to supersize it?"
Right.
You know,
That's now taken on a negative connotation for their business.
right? But man, their fries are good, and McDonald's has the best Coke anywhere.
They do have really good, and they have the best coffee now because they picked up the bean from Tim Hortons because they switched brands.
Ah,
So I
okay.
actually prefer McDonald's coffee over Tim Hortons. Oh, heathen. Turn in my Canada card.
Well, no, the reason I say they have the best Coke is because McDonald's uses filtered water in their soda fountains.
Oh, I did not know.
So this is the trick. If you next time you have McDonald's and you are drinking, your Coke or your Diet Coke or whatever your choice of beverages, they use filtered water in the machines. That's why if you've ever thought, man, this doesn't quite taste as good as the one I get at McDonald's, that's why. And also, McDonald's doesn't use those stupid Coke freestyle machines that I hate. I can't stand those things. Have we
We talked
discussed
about how we
those
did.
before?
Yeah, we talked about
Yeah,
those and how they're not really here, or at least
yeah.
I haven't experienced
You're
them.
you're lucky. They're not because the stuff doesn't come out tasting right.
Yeah.
Everybody here in America knows what I'm talking about. Basically, it's like a giant touch screen thing, and you touch what you want, and the soda is in like a little cartridge that mixes. Think of like an
Mm.
inkjet
Yeah.
printer. Okay, it's like it injects it and blends with the carbonated water, and it just now it's just not as
Hmm.
good.
Mm.
Anyway,
I'll have to try and then I can agree with you.
yes.
Now, we did have two questions that
Okay.
came in off of the Instagram account.
All right. Hit me.
So
What we got?
we had a question about if Canadians have cowboys, and
Yes.
yes,
Okay.
we do. So particularly in obviously the prairie provinces of Alberta, Saskatchewan,
Mm-hmm.
Manitoba. I mean, we have the
Calgary
Stampede,
Stampede.
Calgary
Yep.
Stampede.
Every
It's a
summer.
go. The premier has made sure that the COVID restrictions and everything's in alignment so that it can still happen. We'll see what happens after the Stampede is over. But like there's lots of chuck races, cow roping, and all that kind of stuff around here. So you'll see people. It's not like a huge thing where you'll see people walking around with like cowboy hats or boots or like the stereotypical outfit. But it's
Yeah.
not like not uncommon to see those things.
But it's definitely depends where you're at because I'm sure it's more
Yeah.
of an Alberta or Manitoba thing,
Hmm.
not so much in Ontario.
No, not so much. And then we also have like the interesting mix of like Headerites, which are almost like the Amish.
Hmm.
So you see like those individuals using carts and horses and things like that. But it's funny that the cowboy culture actually came from America when the first herders kind of came up from the States. In 1811, we used to call, or they were called buckaroos. So from the United Territories of Oregon and Washington, they began driving beef cattle into British Columbia to sell to the prospectors that had come up for the Fraser River Gold Rush. And so then they said around the 1870s, they changed the name from buckaroos to cowboys
Hmm.
when they came into the Canadian prairie province. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And actually, our two famous cowboys that I learned about are actually formerly Americans. So
Oh yeah.
we have John Ware, who is maybe the most famous Canadian cowboy. He was actually born a slave in South Carolina in 1845 on a cotton plantation. And then after your Civil War, he made his way to Texas, where he learned how to be a cowboy. And then he came with the first cattle herds to Alberta. And so he would go on to start his own ranch and he's remembered as a legendary cowboy and folk hero in the area. So kind of interesting. It's like, of course, he would be an American first, and then Canada would just
Adopt him.
adopt him. And then Bill Miner was an American bandito, originally from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And he was a well-known stagecoach robber and cowboy, but he had very good manners during his robberies. So after he got out of San Quentin, in California, he relocated to British Columbia. And then he started, he's credited with pulling off the first train robbery in Canada. And it occurred September 10th, 1904. And his politeness earned him the nickname the Gentleman Bandit.
Oh, well,
he's believed to be the one to coin the phrase hands up.
Oh, really? Okay.
Apparently so. So I guess he came and had very nice manners. And so Canada's like, yeah, we'll take this cowboy bandit individual into our mix.
Okay, then. So, yes, Canada has cowboys.
Canada has cowboys. Yeah. You can come on up for a chuck wagon race. Check them out.
Maybe one year I'll make it up there for the Canadian Stampede. How about that?
Oh, the Calgary one, yeah.
Or the Calgary Stampede, rather.
Yeah. So very cool.
Good.
And our second question from the Instagram account was about the War of 1812. But you could spend we
could do a whole show on this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, the four groups involved, the Americans, the Indigenous, the Canadians, and the British, all have kind of different interpretations of the events that went down. And everyone kind of thought that they won, except for the Indigenous people. The Indigenous people definitely do not feel that they won much of anything in that situation. But it was actually really close that the British could have retaken the American colonies, or America, because you were your own country by then.
Right.
So it was actually kind of scarily close. And I don't think a lot of Americans realize how effective the water blockades were by the British and how damaging it was to the economy. So, for example, America's oceanic trading went from 40 million in 1811 to 2.6 million in 1814.
Oh, wow.
Right? Drastic change there.
Well, it's look at that Suez Canal blockage we had a few months ago. Look, people don't fully grasp just how much, shipping on the oceans and waterways can affect things. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. It said 90% of federal income fell by 80%, leaving your administration virtually bankrupt. And what basically saved Americans from being taken back over was that Napoleon surrendered. The war between France and England was over, and people were tired and wanted their menfolk home. So they were like, well, okay, we got the Americans to come to the Treaty of Ghent. We'll just leave it at that.
It's dropping 90%. Sounds like our tourism tax dollars last year when COVID.
Ew. That's true.
Yeah. Oh.
So very, very interesting history. I mean, I would love to do a whole episode on it because it's very fascinating. The individual that asked for this question was like, oh, I bet a lot of Americans don't know how close they were to actually being taken back over. But also a lot of Canadians don't understand kind of the impact of the aggressiveness of America, because they really, like you guys had Manifest Destiny. Like it was all about, we're just going to take Canada over and Canada's going to become another state or different states. And it was funny that your administration just thought Canada would also agree with the tyranny of the British and just throw off the yoke. And Canadians were actually really pissed at Americans and thought that they were very rude because they came in and if they didn't come in so aggressively and they hadn't burned stuff down and pillaged, we probably would have been more on your side. But so a lot of Canadians don't understand how historically important the War of 1812 is either.
Gotcha. Well, and maybe that's something we will do on a future episode. If you've enjoyed us doing kind of a special episode like this, we are certainly open to doing more in the future. Let us know. But all right,
that's right.
I think it's that time. Or do you have another question?
Oh no, the time for names.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first? How do you want to do this?
I think we could take turns.
Okay.
You could pick a province and I could find a name for you, because I went through the provinces and found various ones that I thought were kind of interesting or funny. I mean, there's some that are easy to pronounce, right? And it would just be funny to make you say them on air.
Yeah. Cool.
But they're very...
Yeah, and that's kind of what I have for you as well. Some of these are going to be kind of easy to pronounce, but there might be a cool story to them.
Okay.
Most of the ones I have for you are Florida, but I do have a handful that are not. So,
Interesting.
okay.
I mean, it's easier for me to go through 10 provinces and 2 territories than it is for you to go through like 52 states.
Yeah. I will always have an endless supply of these for you. That's fine. All right. So I'm going. Well, I tell you what. Why don't you share the screen with me? Well, let's do yours first, and then we'll close with.
Well, I was
mine.
gonna put them into the chat because some
Okay.
of them I have the actual pronunciation.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, all right. Let me go ahead and pop
Okay.
that up then, so I can look at that. Okay.
Okay. So which one do you want to pick a province? What do you want to do?
I don't care. Just surprise me.
Just surprise you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna pick these 2 from Nova Scotia because I gotta go
Okay.
with my home province.
All right. Fair enough.
So here are 2 for you.
Oh wow, these look like descriptions or names of stuff at IKEA.
They are a Mi'kmaq in origin, so the indigenous
Okay.
people, they speak Maliseet.
Musquo de Beau.
Ooh.
Musquo de Beau.
Final guess?
Yeah, that's my guess for the first one. Yeah.
Okay. So Muscadabit.
Muscadabit. Okay. This next one is Kejimijkejuk.
Oh, so close. Kijimakujik.
Kijimakujik. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one that's like a little bit easier. We start with the hard ones.
Ikum Sekum.
Close. Ikum Sekum.
Ikum Sekum. Okay. All right.
Okay. This one, you have to say this one to make Miriam happy. So my mom.
Right.
This is my mom's village.
Mabu.
Very good. Mabu.
Mabu, Miriam. That one's for you.
I know, since she's like, fine if you have to cheer for Tampa Bay. She was
I have
willing
to
to let you not cheer. I know. I told her.
I mean, come on, it's Tampa's down the road, it's but either way, very excited that the Canadians made the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah,
we'll see how it plays out. Now these ones are very simple, but I just thought they were funny, and to make you say them on air is really hilarious to me. So there you go.
Yes. Okay.
We're out of Newfoundland.
All right. So dildo. I actually saw this as I was doing some research for funky names. Dildo. Spread Eagle Bay and Blow Me Down. Yep. I got a couple like that for you when we get to when we get to our list.
Okay. Oh goodness. Okay, here we go. Here's 2 from New Brunswick for you.
All right.
We'll go a little faster since I hung around the Maritime just because I know that area so well.
Sure. Yeah. Miramichi.
Oh, close.
Miramichi.
That's great. It's kind of Japanese.
Yeah, and we've as we've discussed, I can kind of
Miramichi.
Yes, as we've discussed, I can kind of speak a little.
Good job.
With Japanese names. I'm kind of decent on, and I'm guessing this is Tabusin-attack.
Kind of close.
Tabusin-attack.
Tabusin-attack.
Okay.
Here is one from Quebec.
All right. Shawnigan.
This has a very, so it is Shawinigan. And there's a saying known as the Shawinigan handshake, which is not good.
Okay. We'll just leave it at that. All right.
Well, former Prime Minister Jean Chrétien had a very famous interaction with a anti-poverty protester in 1996, where he basically there's a video of him kind of choke holding the protester.
Oh, okay.
And so it became known as the Shawinigan handshake.
I gotta admit, I like that name. I might steal that one. Not that I choke people on a regular basis, but
But it could be.
Yeah.
Here's 2 from BC.
Tofino.
Yeah, Tofino.
And Ucluelet.
Close, Ucluelet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And here, this one from our last territory that came into being April 1st, 1999. This is the capital of Nunavut.
Is that okay? That 4th letter is an L, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Equalute.
Close.
Equalute.
Oh, Equaluet.
Okay. If there'd been an E on the end of that, I might have said Equaluet the first time. But
yeah.
Okay.
Equaluet, Nunavut.
Nunavut.
I always have like a bit of a French accent on there. It's probably not appropriate.
Okay.
We always default to French around here.
Gotcha. All right. I am going to.
Now you're going to pop some in here? Okay. Oh,
yep.
You're going to share your screen.
Yep. So that way you see that whole list right there.
Oh,
so that way you can just That way it's easier. You could just kind of run down the list, and then I will fill in a little extra with
Okay.
some of those. All right. So
do you want me to read through the whole list?
yeah, just read through the list, and I'll kind of hit you with a couple of things about them as we go. All right. So
Okay.
go.
So Brevard County.
Yes, very good. Okay, so Brevard County is over on the Space Coast. That's where like the Kennedy Space Center and everything is.
Okay.
And fun fact, in 1999, they added a new area code because the area around Central Florida had grown so much. So their area code over there is 321, as in, 321.
Go.
Lift off. Yep.
I like that. That's cute. Hillsborough.
Yep. Hillsborough County. And then the next one is
Pinellas.
Yeah, Pinellas County. Okay, so those are both over on like the Tampa Bay
and
area.
that's where my friend lives in Pinellas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I know that word.
Gotcha. So Hillsborough is like Tampa, and then Pinellas is like West Tampa Bay. That's more like St. Pete, Clearwater. All right.
Okay. Escambia.
Escambia. Yep. That's
Escambia.
the westernmost and the oldest county in the state of Florida. So that is up in the Panhandle. So that's like what borders Alabama.
Okay. Waukulla.
Waukulla County. Yep. That's up near Tallahassee. Choppy. Yes. So this town of 492 people is home to the annual warm grunting festival.
Warm grunting?
Worm, like the little animals, worms.
Oh, worm
grunting festival. Yes. So
what is that about?
Worm. I don't know why I keep trying to say warm. Worm charmers will drive wooden stakes into the ground and rub them with like metal slabs, causing vibrations. So the worms will surface, where they are then gathered and used or sold for fishing bait.
That's a worm charmer.
Yeah,
that sounds like put that on your resume. It's like the guy. What we said about the person who drops the ball.
Yes,
at the Times Square. That's
right.
The interesting resume. Is it Mosquito County?
Mosquito County. Do they have mosquitoes in Canada?
We have lots of mosquitoes. Okay. It's awful.
Yeah. So Mosquito County is actually the historic name for most of eastern Florida back in the 1800s. Oh. So like Orange County, Seminole County, Lake County, Polk County, like the whole eastern half basically of Central Florida was one giant county that was Mosquito County. Oh. And in 1844, they cut it in half. The south end became St. Lucia County, which eventually would go on to be renamed Brevard County. Okay. And the northern half was renamed Orange County, and that's the area that has Orlando in it.
Oh, that's very cool. But why would you want to name your county after mosquitoes?
I don't know. That was the 1800s. Their options were limited.
So I'm going to say Lee Reed County.
Yes. So this is actually kind of an interesting backstory on this one. So it was a proposed county. It's not an actual county. It was proposed to honor General and Legislator Lee Reed after he was assassinated. In 1842, the Democrats passed a bill that would have renamed what was Mosquito County as Lee Reed County. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there are some that claim that the bill passed, but there's no legislative records of the bill. And what happened is kind of unclear. Some claim that a clerk withheld the bill, and others claim that the governor at the time, who did not get along with Reed, refused to sign the bill. And one historian says that the governor claims that he signed the bill, but through some misadventure, the law never appeared on the books.
Interesting. I want to know. Got to find out that mystery.
Right.
This one's cute. Fluffy Landing. I want to live in Fluffy Landing, Florida.
I have to be honest. Until I did this research, I didn't know Fluffy Landing existed. So.
Well, now we can add it to our bucket list of when I go visit.
I will find it, and we can make it happen. All right.
Florida Town.
Yes, you could tell we got real original after a while. Florida Town, Florida, population 244.
Loretta.
Nope. This is actually Lorida.
Like Florida.
Like Florida. Yes. So it was originally named Istokpoga, which was a Seminole name, but it was changed because the post office refused to accept it because there was a similar post office, or there was another post office in the state with a similar name.
Oh, interesting.
So they changed the name to Lorida.
Like just drop the F.
Yep. Get the F out.
Get the F out of Florida. That should be a slogan. If that's not your slogan, Florida, like, come on, get the F out.
Right. Give us
As you're leaving.
royalties. All right.
Well, I love it. Mechanope.
Micanopy.
Mm-hmm. Niceville. How cute is that?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Niceville.
Oh,
yep.
Possum Bluff. That's pretty epic. Yeah. I mean, that's what possums do.
Right.
Okay, hold on. Apalachicola.
Apalachicola.
Mm-hmm. It almost looks like the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Dunedin.
Yes.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interlation.
Close. Interlaken.
Oh, I should know that. My nephew's name is Lachlan, and it's spelled the same way at the beginning.
Hope he doesn't listen to the show.
He does. Oh no, Lachlan. It's because Auntie can't read. Pompano
Beach. Yep.
Pompano. Okay, now we're getting into other places. I almost went to scroll down because I have control over your screen.
I think I have control as well. Yep. Okay.
No, I was like trying to.
Okay.
It didn't work.
All right.
Roanoke, Virginia.
Roanoke, Virginia. So this was originally known as Big Lick. And it got its name from the salt that would develop and the wildlife would come, like the deer would come and lick near the Roanoke River. So
cute.
Yeah.
St. Augusta, Minnesota.
Yeah, so actually for a short time, this city was renamed Ventura, Minnesota, after the then Governor Jesse Ventura in 2000. Because who ironically got his wrestling ring name from Ventura, California. And they did this to avoid getting annexed by the nearby city of St. Cloud. But it has since reverted back to St. Augusta. Name. Yep.
And this one, now I have to add it to my bucket list. So Minnesota, you watch out, I'm coming. Little Canada.
Little Canada, Minnesota. Yeah, I found that, so I got to throw that one in there for you. Now, I have, we're running out of time here for this week's show, but I have got some fun ones here that we will get into at another point. But
okay.
Before we go,
you got like the dirty list.
Well, I'll go ahead. I will go ahead and tell you there is Intercourse, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we have an Intercourse, Saskatchewan. I think it's in Saskatchewan.
Although what's funny about Intercourse, Pennsylvania is it's about 8 miles from Blue Ball, Pennsylvania.
That's pretty perfect.
We'll just leave that one alone for right now because it is time for the grand finale. Trish, are you ready?
What? I'm ready.
Because there's one more. This is a lake. Okay.
A lake.
Yes.
Wait, I might know.
Oh, okay. I don't think you know this one. You ready?
Yeah. Oh no! What is this? I thought you were gonna have like Lake Titihaha or whatever it's called.
Nope.
Oh my. Okay, is that I can't see the whole thing. Is that the whole thing? Does it end with an A?
No. Hold on. I think I need to make it wider because I've got it narrower on my screen. There we go.
Oh my goodness gracious me. Okay. There's like how many letters in this?
I was just gonna say for those that are wondering why she is so bumfuzzled at this point, this lake has 45 letters and is made up of 14 syllables.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. Targaga go. No wait. Gog gag og man chu go chow gun game ag.
How now, brown cow? You did okay. I'll give you like half a point for trying. So it is Lake Chargagagog Manchuagog Chaba Agangog Magaga.
Oh my goodness, that's a mouthful. Where is this place?
Its short name is known as Lake Chowbunagungamug.
Lake Chuggabugamug?
Which in and of itself would be a fun one to give you to say. But it's also...
There's no bees in there. Where are they getting the bees?
Well, there's a B towards the end. It's like the 30th letter.
Oh, Bungagun. Okay, you're right.
Bunagung. Or you could just call it Webster Lake, and this is in Webster, Massachusetts.
Okay, well, Massachusetts, I'm sorry. I'm not going to go find this. I'm going to head to Minnesota.
Little Canada.
Little Canada's calling.
Yes. Speaking of calling, it is time to call it a day. On this episode, we thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed your stay here at Lake Chargagagog, Menchuagog, Chabunagunagug Mug, please
Right.
come back. Rate us 5 stars on TripAdvisor or Yelp or whatever. Actually, just, like leave a review on your favorite podcast app telling people how amazing we are.
That's right.
And even if you don't think we're amazing, just lie. I mean, it's the internet.
just
Everybody
lie.
lies
Come on.
anyway.
You listen to us all the way to the end of this episode. The least you could do.
Exactly. But seriously, though, happy Canada Day.
Yes,
happy Independence Day. Everybody have a great week. Thanks for joining us. Trish, do the thing.
All right. As always, if you have any questions, concerns, queries, or freakouts, you can reach us at Time Machine with Trish and Mike on Instagram, Time Machine with Trish and Mike at gmail.com. Put it all into the Google machine and you'll find us on YouTube. Hit subscribe and like our videos, and maybe we'll get, that proper little actual legitimized tag, and we can have our name on there. Or you can go to Anchor and leave us a voicemail. We'd love to hear from you.
Yes, and thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next week right here on The Time Machine.